walked into an IKEA store, despite the limitless choices of products that they have in stock. Every time you walk in, each layout is one design at a time, one department at a time. To see how they've managed to sort of move the customer throughout the store.
Correct.
So the biggest issue here is Hick's law when a website has too many things on it. Sometimes SEO and CRO may even clash, so there needs to be collaboration and conversation around there. So for example, technical SEO will tell you not to add another URL slug like /product/something, but CRO will need that URL slug to test it, to analyze all the product pages, to report easier on how our changes affected the product pages. So there's a bit of a balance there as well. Traditional conversion rate optimization, it involves randomly testing good ideas or ideas that people have a hunch on. It's now evolved into digital optimization, where its true value is in its analysis. So quantitative data can help you find your biggest anomalies and your biggest gaps. Qualitative data is small scale, but it provides a lot more context to the problem. So it's most useful to find the actual problem, why it's happening, what the root cause is, because a lot of the time people just look at quantitative data and then make a lot of assumptions, create an optimization campaign that is supposedly going to close that gap. But without qualitative data, we're not going to know what is causing those anomalies.
Welcome to another episode of the CRO Wizard series by VWO Podcast. In this series, we speak to top CRO leaders in e-commerce, media, subscription, retail, banking, and other industries about CRO strategies and the positive impact they can have on your business. Before we speak to our special guest for this episode, here's a quick summary of who we are and what we do. VWO is a leading experience optimization platform. Using our latest product, VWO Insights, you can analyze user journeys and identify conversion roadblocks on your website and mobile app. So without any further delay, let's jump right into the conversation.
Today, we are delighted to have Shantelle Lai join us. Shantelle is an independent digital optimization consultant who is passionate about turning website visitors into real customers for her clients. With a deep understanding of user insights, she creates digital optimization and personalization solutions that impact all facets of a business. Before venturing into independent consulting, Shantelle served as a digital optimization lead at Conversionry, where she led the team to success in offering world-class conversion optimization and experimentation consulting. Join us as Shantelle shares valuable insights and practical strategies that will transform your approach to CRO. Hi, Shantelle. Welcome to CRO Wizard series. How are you doing today?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. A bit chilly where I am. Very excited to be here. Thanks for the introduction.
Great. So how has this week been so far, and what are your plans for the weekend?
I'm just going to have a chilled weekend. Work-life balance is a big thing for me at the moment. So hoping to put everything in a box and wrap it up.
Great. I've seen your profile and really, admired by the work that you have done so far. And I believe we need much more, CRO influencers like you who can basically, share that knowledge in the CRO world and make sure every business is using CRO to the fullest, right? So glad to have you on this podcast, and thank you so much for your time. So let's get started. Shantelle, you say that you have, a mind trained to eliminate opportunity costs, translating to potential revenue gaps online. Can you please briefly walk us through the process you undertake for this?
Yeah, absolutely. So CRO was born from marketing, as we all know. It's become a part of product and the UX process nowadays.
Right.
I would say it even levels as a skill required to be successful as a product owner or UX researcher. Traditional conversion rate optimization, it involves randomly testing good ideas or ideas that people have a hunch on. It's now evolved into digital optimization, where its true value is in its analysis. So it's analysis of real world problems and scalability. And it's a big tool to help with growth optimization and just scaling any kind of business online and their services offline. So CRO has turned into pretty much what we call experimentation, which is necessary for product growth and optimization. It requires a full circle understanding of the product, business context, and goals before developing a test. And
Right.
because it's now used as an experimentation tool, revenue is no longer the key metric. So back to saying, mind trained to eliminate opportunity costs, targeting revenue is just a short-term gain from CRO. So now, because it's an experimentation, we can micro test for other metrics that help the business save long term. So sort of translating to potential saving costs like, live chat costs or costs where we see revenue leaking online, even shipping, etc.
Totally agree to your point. I believe revenue has no more, though ROI seems to be a factor in this case, but it's all about improving your user experience, user engagement. And as you rightly said, it's more about the analysis as well, because before getting into a business and starting CRO, you first need to understand what are their objectives, what are their goals, what are their success metrics, because each business might have a different success metric that they're trying to achieve using CRO, right? And for that, you have to do that
Exactly.
homework done in terms of qualitative and quantitative analysis before you start running a test. So I believe the points that you mentioned really play a key role, especially when you're starting a CRO program for a new client.
Yep, exactly.
Shantelle, how do you determine when quantitative research and qualitative research should be used together for best outcomes?
Yeah, so you can have a mix here, and this is the power of the human brain. So quantitative data can help you find your biggest anomalies and your biggest gaps or opportunities. So where are your customers leaking and finding problems? And you can see that in your analytical dashboards. Qualitative data is small scale, but it provides a lot more context to the problem. So it's most useful to find the actual problem, why it's happening, what the root cause is, because a lot of the time people just look at quantitative data and then make a lot of assumptions, create an optimization campaign that is supposedly going to close that gap. But without
Correct.
qualitative data, we're not going to know what is causing those anomalies.
Right.
So once you have all that data from the qualitative side, quantitative is used again to scale the problem because there's no point in optimizing edge cases. So if you find, say, 2 people are finding an issue with something, but your sample size is 1,000 and what they're dealing with is more of an edge case, then there's obviously no point in targeting those gaps. So that's why quantitative can come into play and scale that up, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Totally. Because it's more about psychology. You need to understand why and what's happening on the website because of visitors, right? Because in the end, your visitors are humans as well. And it's all about understanding their mind, what basically triggers friction, what basically triggers anxiety. So your funnels, your conversion rates might give you that, quantitative numbers. But when you're looking for qualitative numbers, you need to look into session recordings. You need to look into heat maps to understand what is actually causing it, get a pattern, analyze those patterns, and then come up with an hypothesis that you can basically test, right? So as you rightly said, it's the
Absolutely.
brain outcomes and the mind outcomes that basically we need to understand, deep dive into a user's mind, and then try understanding what might be causing these issues for them on the website, and then ultimately solving for those issues, right?
Yep, at an aggregate level.
Shantelle, yes, totally, exactly, yes. Uh, Moving on to the next question, Shantelle, what are the most common cognitive biases you see affecting the UX of most of your clients' websites, and how does testing help overcome them?
Yeah, really good question. I love cognitive bias and how much it can contribute to CRO. I'm not
Right.
sure if there's a culture to read up on cognitive bias, so I love this question. It's more of a UXR kind of thing. I was very fortunate enough to work with UX researchers in the past very closely. So a lot of them, I've got to thank them for inspiring the way that I do my experimentation. So the biggest cognitive bias that I see business suffer from is Hick's law. So Hick's law is seen when websites have too much clutter on the page.
Okay.
Most websites have multiple call to actions. So they might say call here, email here, subscribe,
Yes.
shop this, and that,
Mm,
new sale.
mm,
Giving the customer too many options increases cognitive load.
mm.
They get overwhelmed and they end up not actually doing what you need them to do, especially as a lead gen client as well. So it doesn't just go for
True,
e-commerce. So if you've ever walked into
true.
an IKEA store, despite the limitless choices of products that they have in stock, every time you walk in, each layout is one design at a time, one department at a time. So see how
Right,
they've managed to sort of move the customer throughout the store.
correct.
So the biggest issue here is Hick's law when a website has too many things on it, giving the customer too many options.
Fair enough. I totally agree because I also believe that this has been a major issues in terms of websites trying to optimize because when there are a lot of options that they have to offer on the website in terms of offerings or in terms of products, it kind of uh, gets into that cognitive bias, as you said. It becomes difficult to choose because multiple options can be very similar and you need to choose between those options.
Yeah, and some of the
Mm.
options are very valuable to the customer and the business still. So
Right.
that's why by testing you can remove what's not valuable and you can get that from the analysis.
Exactly.
And then when you remove it and it doesn't affect revenue,
Mm.
then you know to remove it. And it might even increase revenue because now you've given less choices and given the customer what they actually want. So that's how testing helps overcome it.
Totally, totally. And in fact, businesses need to understand that as well, that more options does not imply a higher revenue. Rather, it's more meaningful options and simple
Less is
options
more.
that your
Yeah.
users can choose from. So, what are some key factors to analyze and test results, and how do you suggest businesses should read between the data to understand the meaning behind test results?
Yeah, so you most often need one other source to back up the data that you have. If
Mhm.
you care about genuine results like me and you've come from a data analytics background, you want to have other ways to verify the data. Of course, it can be quite time consuming. And it's usually used when you're using a platform that you're not familiar with or you haven't done testing with.
Mhm.
In terms of reading the data to understand what it's telling you, all humans have human intuition.
Okay.
The study of behavioral economics may have helped me,
Mhm.
but I think I have my knack for lateral thinking as well. So I have lateral thinking, so that means reading between the lines. So if you're anything
Mhm.
like that and you're a problem solver or a creative person, then you'll definitely thrive in looking at analytics and trying to figure out the reasons what it's trying to tell you. If you're naturally curious, you can ask why these anomalies are happening. Twyman's law states that any figure that looks interesting or different is usually wrong, but you can also apply this to it usually means something else.
Got totally. In fact, even when I've talked to my clients, all these clients wherein they have a full-fledged CRO team, they basically look for data across different platforms. They are looking at the data on their A/B testing platform, then they are comparing that data with the GA4, then they are also kind of comparing that data on
Yep.
mixed panel, right? So they're trying to connect those dots across different platforms and then trying to come up with that
Exactly.
analysis of the end result of the test, which I believe adds a
Precisely.
lot of value to your optimization journey. Right.
Exactly. On point.
So, how is the rise of AI going to change website personalization? Because I know there's a lot of hype about AI, everywhere. So, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I've always been an advocate of AI. In fact, that's where I sort of started. My very first startup job was a AI chatbot. So AI can now even generate and iterate tests based on your website and cookie data. You still
Mhm.
need a real human to verify it at this stage. I only use AI sometimes to normalize my data, so it's more of a support system.
Right.
CRO being an experimentation tool for UX and product means you still need a real human to make the final decision. Because
That's
again,
right.
we as humans have that human intuition. So we're not just there. We're not quite there yet with CRO. There's a long way to go if the nature of the business and its customers differ. For personalization, that's a different story. I can see it helping us with customer attribution, but the campaigns would still have to be verified by a human because there's so much creative work that goes into there. So for now, use AI where it can to support your work, so you can leave more room for you to do the high-level personalization, analysis, and optimization. Note, AI is expensive, so it may not even be able to compete with labor wages just yet.
True. Very true. I like that point in how you have attributed the costing in terms of using the AI, right? And secondly, I agree to the point that you also said it's humans that need to, make the final decision in that case. So I believe in terms of AI and CRO, it can basically give you directions as to which part of the website can be optimized or which part of the website can be focused. But in the end, you need to analyze the friction areas of that specific section of the website and come up with ideas that are tailor made for your customers, right? Because of course, AI is just a tool that might just
Exactly.
give you, a basic foundation in terms of solving problems. But in the end, you know your business better, you know your customers better, you know their persona, and you know what they need. And that is where you need to put all your brainstorming and thinking, right?
Yeah, so the AI doesn't really have the context of the other facets of the business. We always have an
Correct.
overarching goal in CRO that we're trying
Right.
to achieve. But I guess it's a different question when it comes to personalization.
Totally. Totally. What is the CRO maturity among businesses in Australia? Are they, ready to conduct complex tests beyond simply changing CTA colors?
Yeah, Australia is far behind. Most marketing teams don't know what CRO is, let alone
Mhm.
how it's transformed into a skill beyond button color testing. I still have to use this analogy though, changing button colors, because
Yes.
it's the easiest way to explain it to a business unfamiliar with CRO.
True.
We've got a lot of catching up to do to reach the experimentation growth happening in the US, UK, Germany, and Netherlands.
All right. Yeah, because I know these are basic ideas, testing colors or testing copy, and these can be game changers as well. But I believe if you're looking for that significant improvement in terms of conversion, it has to be a mix of these basic ideas and complex ideas that runs together on a website, right? You just can't keep running smaller changes like color changes and expect incremental growth in terms of your conversion. Rather, you also have to make lean UI UX changes in terms of functionality or in terms of layout that can actually bring get you to that point, that the target that you've set in terms of improving the conversion rate. So I strongly believe that yes, low hanging fruits should be a focus, but also you need to look into bigger problems on the website and solve them by doing certain complex changes as well, right?
Absolutely.
Do you believe that SEO and CRO should work together, or are they best applied to separate pages on a website?
Absolutely, they should work together. They both have optimization in their name,
Yes.
and they both work on the website. So it's pretty self-explanatory that they do need to work hand in hand, and they can help each other. CRO is actually used to squeeze out marketing budgets, return on investment, and SEO is part of that marketing budget.
So,
So, what's the point in increasing the traffic on a page where CRO can't support that traffic and turn them into customers, which is the motto for my independent consultancy services as well, turning website visitors into real customers. Sometimes SEO and CRO may even clash, so there needs to be
good.
collaboration and conversation around there,
Okay.
communication, good communication at all times. So,
Mhm.
for example, technical SEO will tell you not to add another URL slug like slash product slash something,
Right.
but CRO will need that URL slug to test it, to analyze all the product pages, to report easier on how our changes affected the product pages. Another example is that CRO will tell you to condense copy and turn them into digestible content or icons, but SEO may suffer
Yeah.
because of less copy and less keywords. So there's a bit of a balance
True.
there as well.
So, totally agreed. In fact, especially in my experience for majority of the SaaS businesses, uh, the changes that they like to implement is more in terms of the copy changes, because SaaS businesses offer services and content is the king in that case. So they focus a lot on the content, and when they're changing content, it does impact their SEO as well. So I see SaaS businesses playing, leveraging both SEO and optimization in a great way to optimize for both their rankings on Google search as well, along with, optimizing the user experience on the website as well. On a lighter note, Shantelle, if you could master any skill instantly, what it would be?
HCI, human computer interaction. So CRO, you might have heard of CXL, but I recommend
Yeah.
looking at other facets and other disciplinaries that help with CRO. So the Google UX course is free, and it's part of the Coursera course lift. I will highly recommend taking that just to get design thinking, because HCI involves design thinking, web development, psychology, behavioral, and then a lot of things that you can learn in there. It's mostly used for VR and AR, which is why I didn't continue on with those studies.
Okay.
But Free Code Camp is really good for web development. I've mentioned Google UX for UX and design thinking. Those are really good as just basic, because you're not going to become a coder, a developer. You're not going to become a UX designer. If you're just doing it for CRO, it's really important that you get these basic foundations from those courses.
Perfect. Thanks for the piece of advice. I believe all our aspiring CRO experts, kind of take a note of that specific course and make sure that we go through the course, right?
Yeah, I'm excited for them.
Great. Shantelle, before we wrap up the podcast, I just wanted to have a small rapid fire round with you. So these are the set of questions. So let's say, or you can probably just add your 2 cents over here, right?
Sure thing.
If you were to starting a career in CRO today, what is that one thing that you would do differently?
Again, CRO today. Well, I did a whole 3 to 4 year degree in economics and a bit of maths, so I probably wouldn't have done that
Okay.
for so long. I would have, I mean, it gave me a really good statistical background, so I do understand data a lot better than most CRO people that came from marketing.
Okay.
But I don't think it was worth that much time. So if I were to start again, I would do those online courses like from General Assembly, CXL, and my digital marketing course from Monash.
Okay.
Those are more than you need. And then the rest of it, you can just learn by working for an agency or a startup or even brand side.
Totally agree. A newsletter that every CRO professional would follow, or a newsletter that you would recommend to visitors?
I don't even remember the name of it, because the email comes through a CRO weekly.
Sure.
That's just all it's called. It's from Tom Van Den Berg. Actually, it's just called CRO Weekly. That's literally what it's called.
Yeah. Perfect. And any book recommendations along with a newsletter? Any specific book that you would recommend?
Yeah, this is gonna be a bit surprising, but I like to read on anthropology, because anthropology teaches you how humans think from an instinctive level. So it talks about societies and how they've been brought about. But how do societies work? They work from gathering a bunch of humans. So by understanding our innate behavior, you get to understand how to optimize better. So the book I recommend for that is Sapiens.
Sapiens. Yes, I've heard a lot about Sapiens, though I haven't got a chance to read
Love
Sapiens,
it.
but yes, I've heard a lot about the book. Yeah.
You've got to. It's going to help your CRO in a different way.
I'll just add it to my list then.
Wonderful.
Great. What's your go-to travel destination in Australia?
Go-to travel list. Sydney. I love Sydney. I'm actually from Brisbane and I've just moved to Adelaide. I used to fly to Sydney every month just for a little weekend away. So I guess the Blue Mountains is something you've got to see, other than Haymarket in Sydney.
All right. One thing that AI will replace in the next 3 years?
I've heard that AI can even start affecting your genes. Now, I'm no scientist, but apparently we can live a little bit longer.
That's
I've seen AI replace, yeah, I've seen AI replacing a lot of graphics as well. So I think
Mhm.
graphic designers may have to think about how they would work with AI. See, I'm not an expert there, but that's just from my very small perspective.
No, I totally agree. Especially considering the cases of deepfakes and all of this coming into the picture when the entire video can be morphed using AI. I guess
Yeah, the
sounds-
diffusion is crazy.
yeah, so that's something that we definitely need to look after. One CRO metric that
Thank
you
you.
wish people would stop obsessing over.
Direct revenue.
Right? I was expecting that. And the last one, the last question for you, a dream or a goal you want to achieve in the next 3 years.
I would love my app to take off and be used by a lot of small businesses. I think small to medium businesses are the backbone of Australia, and I'd love to help them the same way a lot of apps like Canva has, pushing them up to compete in a world where technology is so advanced, but still so far away from people that aren't familiar with it. So helping the world sort of catch up with each other.
Great, great. Cool. I guess this was it. And, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, especially your meaningful insights about CRO, about how to use SEO and CRO in sync, how to make use of quantitative and qualitative analysis at the best. So, the Hicks law that you mentioned. So, I believe all these pointers play a really crucial role and will add a lot of value to our listeners, especially, for aspiring CRO experts. And Shantelle, thank you so much for your time today, for joining in. And I look forward to
Thank
hosting you
you.
once again in the future.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it, and good luck, everybody.
Mm. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you.